and welcome to episode 87 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where you're listening to this right now, and I appreciate that you have decided to spend some time with me in this episode 87, the year I was born, 1987. No, I will not have anything in this episode that even remotely relates to that. Don't you worry about a thing. Are going to talk about a lot tonight, have some good things going on here. EVO has finally released its games for this year's show, going back to a live show out there in Las Vegas. We'll talk about that. PlayStation had a State of Play yesterday, recording this Thursday night, so Wednesday, with some pretty cool stuff in it. We'll get into that too. And then finally, I have a segment planned around one of the things that was announced yesterday at the State of Play and kind of relates to all that. So we'll wrap up with something fun. But before we do any of that, let's do what we always do and get into the 6 in 60 seconds. League of Legends North American League Championship Series will welcome back live audiences in the Spring Split playoffs with tickets going on sale March 17th. Call of Duty League's Major 1 was won by Texas Optic, who defeated Atlanta FaZe 5-2 in the Grand Finals. Epic Games has banned all Russian players from Fortnite tournaments with cash prizes. Meanwhile, the Pokemon's trading card game's Pokemon Go expansion collection has been revealed and releasing this July. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp has been delayed by Nintendo again, with no new release date at this time. And finally, 8 more women have come forward with accounts of sexism at PlayStation, adding to a current class action lawsuit. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. Yes, folks, those are your 6 in 60 seconds for the week. Kind of a up and down week as far as cool news versus very serious things. Obviously, we want to keep covering the serious stuff like that PlayStation suit. Like the ongoing Russia-Ukraine situation. A lot of companies coming out and no longer supporting Russia or no longer doing business with Russia while this whole thing is going on. So we'll see how that continues to play out in the coming days and weeks. But before we get into the first segment of the evening, I would like to announce a fun little March Madness themed Cheesesteaks and Controllers contest where the winner will win $50 to any online store they want. You want $50 in V-Bucks? I'll do it. You want Steam money? I'll do it. Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, you name it. If you win this contest, $50 coming your way. So what we're going to do is for the next week, and I will put this segment on Twitter as well, for the next, maybe not week, maybe a couple of days, I want you to send me via Twitter DM 5 of your favorite video game soundtracks. Not songs, not just games in general, complete soundtracks. I want you to send me 5 of your favorites, and I want you to rank them from 1 to 5. And I will aggregate all of the choices, and I will put them in a list from 1 to hopefully 64. And then I will put them in a bracket, and then we will play out the bracket through voting, through Twitter voting, Twitter poll voting, and then whoever I will share that bracket with all of you. You can submit your brackets to me, a little bracketology action, and the winner, whoever has the most points at the end, will get that $50. Easy, fun, great for debate, and I look forward to doing this. I tried this many years ago at Gamer Node. I think the first summer, I did it in the summer for some reason, that I was ever at writing. So it would have been 2009 I tried this with very poorly photoshopped brackets and very little voting, to be completely honest. But I feel like adding the little incentive is nice. I think people will like that potential. And I think this could be a lot of fun. You always see brackets with like the best games of all time, the best characters of all time. Let's talk about music on Cheesesteaks and Controllers. So send me your 5 favorite video game soundtracks, rank them from 1 to 5, and then based on the points scored, so a number 1 rank will be 5 points, 2 will be 4 points, so on and so forth, we will have our bracket of hopefully 64 games. Looking forward to doing that on Twitter in the next couple of weeks. But let's get into our first topic of the evening, and that is EVO 2022. I am so excited for this tournament. They are back and better than ever, coming back to the Las Vegas in the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. I cannot speak tonight. Apparently they'll have 50% more convention center space for their big return. They're going to have stages upon stages upon stages. They're offering stages to the community events for their own thing. They announced that everybody who's attending is going to get a free water bottle. And there will be refillable water bottle, and there will be 40 to 45 different stations where you can refill your water, which sounds like it's not a big deal, but it's in Las Vegas in August. You do the math. Pretty freaking cool. But yeah, so they are back, and they announced the lineup of their 9 games that will be played this year at EVO 2022. And I just want to go over some of them right now, because some of them are surprising. Others are surprising in their absence, but we will get into that right now. So first and foremost, let's get the ones that are obvious out of the way. Street Fighter V Champion Edition was never not going to be here. I know there's been a whole hullabaloo with Capcom's licensing thing. I spoke about it last week on this show, but EVO transcends that. EVO has nothing to do with that. It's a complete transcendence. That's its own thing. PlayStation owns them, and they said, Capcom, you're not going to pull that crap with us. And Capcom was like, yeah, you're right. So now Street Fighter is here. Tekken 7, also an obvious one. Really did not expect that to not be here. One of the driving forces of the fighting game scene for a long, long time. And so Tekken 7 being here, not a surprise at all. King of Fighters 15, also not a surprise. Brand new, first time at EVO. One of 5 games, like I said, for its first time ever at EVO. On the main stage, at least. King of Fighters 15, I fully expect this to be supported very, very well. It's brand new. A lot of people playing it. A lot of people loving it. Some of the competition out there is already very, very good. So I'm looking forward to that. Guilty Gear Strive also, which has been carrying the fighting game load since it came out last June, also making it to the main stage. Guilty Gear, whenever there's a new Guilty Gear out, they are on the main stage. It was like that with Zerd and Rev 1 and Rev 2. It will always be that way. Strive is no different. Also coming into its own is a great esport. Hope my man K7 Show Off goes there and shows off. Hopefully we can get him on the show. I'd love to talk to him about EVO coming back and what he plans to do. And now we're getting to some surprises, because when Nintendo announced that they weren't going to be at EVO, which again we talked about last week, it freed up some spaces. If you're going by 2019 standards, it freed up 1 space, Ultimate. If you're going by 2018 standards, it freed up 2, because Ultimate and Melee were both there. So how do you fill those 5 remaining spots with games that maybe aren't so obvious? Dragon Ball FighterZ, again, probably one of the biggest shoo-ins of the other 5. The only reason I would say this game might not be there is because it's on the end of its cycle. We don't know if there's a sequel coming out. Heck, they may even announce the sequel at this event. But I didn't know if that was still going to be popular enough to get in here. But there it is. Dragon Ball FighterZ representing. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. This right here, I think, is one of the main benefactors of Super Smash Bros. Not being here. Because in 2019, Mortal Kombat 11 was not a main stage game. It was not part of the main stage in only its 2nd year in existence. So it being here now makes perfect sense with Smash Bros. Gone. But Mortal Kombat 11 Pro, if you have not watched it, Pro Mortal Kombat 11 is awesome. I love seeing how people use different characters in ways that I would have never thought. If I were to sign up for EVO, which I am noodling, but I don't know if I want to get to Las Vegas in August, I would like to play Mortal Kombat and maybe some King of Fighters, but we'll get into that. But yeah, so Mortal Kombat 11 being here, very, very cool. Melty Blood type Lumina. Melty Blood has been a long-standing fighting game franchise, anime fighting game franchise, for a very, very long time. I believe there has been at least 3 or 4 games previous in this franchise. New one came out in September. And again, I think this is also a beneficiary of Super Smash Bros. Not being here, because way back in 2012, 2013, when Smash Bros. Made its return to EVO after some time away, it actually replaced Melty Blood. So for Melty Blood to now replace Smash Bros. Is a cool little, going full circle moment. So Melty Blood type Lumina is here. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, another game making its debut at EVO, another anime fighting game based on Grand Blue Fantasy, very popular mobile game. Nice to see it get its time in the sun here. I thought maybe time had passed it by and there would be another game in this slot instead of this. But no, they're going to give it a shot this year, as they should. It's a very, very cool fighting game, one that I'm now just about to get into for the first time very soon. And then finally, in this 9th position, I love this. I love that it has a resurgence. I love that there's still content coming out for it. I love that they have their own championship series. Skullgirls Second Encore makes it as the 9th game at EVO. Its first ever appearance on the EVO main stage, and it came out in 2012. It is 10 years old and still going strong. You love to see it. You love to see it. So that is your slate. You got Street Fighter V, Guilty Gear, Mortal Kombat, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 15, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Skullgirls Second Encore. So your next question might be, so what order are they going to go on? Because the way EVO traditionally does things, they have one of their tournaments, one of their top 8s on Friday night. They then play 4 of their top 8s, I think, maybe 3 of their top 8s throughout the day Saturday. And then they play through the rest of their top 8s on Sunday in the sports arena at Mandalay Bay, where they have UFC events and stuff like that. So, normally, there is a set order. We already know who's going on when. They've already announced it. They've already figured it out, so on and so forth. But this year, they've added an interesting wrinkle. And if there's a particular game of those 9 that you want to support, this is how you do it. They will determine the order of who goes on when by the number of entrants in the tournament. So if your game gets the least amount of entrants, your top 8 will be Friday night. The entire tournament will be played on Friday. If you have the most, you will end the event on Sunday night. I love that because it galvanizes the communities of the games themselves to support said games. It gives a little more incentive for the games themselves to keep supporting the community, to get that spotlight, to get that primetime slot. It's a really savvy move by the EVO team that I really, really appreciate. And I think it's actually going to drive registrations across all games, because you're going to have a swell of Skullgirls people who want to see it on Saturday or Sunday, so they'll boost the game up. Same with Grand Blue. Street Fighter V is going to try and regain that anchor spot after losing it for a couple of years to Super Smash Brothers, and 1 year, to Super Smash Brothers. Guilty Gear trying to sneak in there. It's been an anchor for a long time at a lot of tournaments, trying to make it known on the national stage. So there's an interesting little juxtaposition happening there, and I'm excited to see how it pans out and what ends up on top once EVO gets here on August the 5th. But I do want to talk about some games that are conspicuous in their absence. Smash Brothers, I would say that, but we know what happened there. And I still can't believe that a tournament with 3,500 participants, the 2019 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Tournament, will not be followed up on at the return to live events. It boggles the mind, but we talked about that last week. I am not going to stick to that now. I am surprised that Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown is not here. The remake of Virtua Fighter 5 for current consoles that came out back in June. I really thought that might have made this tournament here, or this lineup, I should say, maybe replacing a Skullgirls or replacing a Melty Blood, but that was not the case. I'm curious if it's the groundswell of support or lack thereof, or what have you, but I fully expect a side community Virtua Fighter 5 tournament happening at EVO on one of those side stages in the community section. Fully expect that, and I think you should too. And you should watch it if you go, because they have a fantastic competitive community. I got to see it firsthand at Summer Jam back in August, and then again at NEC in the wintertime. They have a lot of fun playing that game. There's a lot of great matches to be had, and you should check out that community as well. And then, and this one might just go back to Capcom negotiations or what have you, but back in 2020, before the pandemic, they were planning on having a major Marvel vs. Capcom 2 20th anniversary exhibition tournament sort of thing, and it didn't happen. obviously, because COVID happened instead. So I really thought they might go back to that. I thought they might try it again, have the same invitational tournaments, have the same thing they were basically going to do at this tournament. But it sounds like that may still be a possibility. Rick, a.k.a. the Hotto, on Twitter, who is now the general manager of EVO after PlayStation bought it, mentioned that they are hearing the questions about a lack of Marvel at all, and told us to keep that spirit bomb energy raised. Shout out to the Dragon Ball fans who knows what that means. And maybe we'll hear some more in the future. So that jury could still be out. There still could be something happening there in terms of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 celebrating its 20th anniversary, which is now 2 years ago, but, to reschedule that event. I think it'd be cool. I think it would be a cool little touch to have that there, because back in 2018, the only EVO I ever went to, they had a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 like mini round robin style tournament as part of a Twin Galaxies series from different games, and it was awesome. It was Justin Wong, Yipes, and I don't remember the third one. Alex Valle, maybe? No, that's not right. I don't remember who the third one was. I have to look that up. But they were going back and forth. First one to win 5 matches wins. I think it took like 2 hours, but the action was so good. So good. So I'm hoping Marvel 2, or even if they want to go Ultimate 3, some sort of spotlight is put on Marvel at this year's show. Those are the biggest absences, I think. I was wondering if maybe they would go a little, further back into the timeline, maybe bring back an Injustice for NetherRealm instead, or something like that. Maybe go a little retro, celebrate its coming back by going with, games from the entire portfolio. Street Fighter being 35 this year, I thought maybe they might throw in a Super Turbo or a Third Strike or something like that. But no, they went with modern games and with one resurgent game in Skullgirls. All of these games have come out in at least the last 5 years, 6 years. I think the oldest one might be Tekken 7 at 2015, if we're counting the arcade release. Console release, I believe, was 2017, which would make Street Fighter 5 the oldest game on this list. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope that they bring back the pageantry and the pomp and circumstance that they had before. I loved when they would make announcements for the games that we were watching right after they happened, or right before grand finals or something like that. I hope they bring that stuff back again. In fact, EVO 2019, I want to say, is where we found out about King of Fighters 15 for the first time, in that little teaser. I hope they do that, because at EVO 2018, quick story, EVO 2018 is where they announced the second DLC pack for Tekken 7. They showed off 3 fighters. The first 2, who were Anna, season 3. Season 3? Season 2? One of the seasons. It was Anna Williams was first, and then Lei Oolong was second. And we thought, oh, cool, that's awesome. They gave us those 2. And then they said Negan from The Walking Dead was coming to Tekken 7, and that place went berserk. I was front row in the press area watching that. It blew my mind. People were going absolutely nuts. It was so cool, such a cool moment. And, for all of the E3s and everything that happened, the state of plays, Nintendo Directs, and stuff like that, fighting games themselves don't really have that. They had a couple of roundtables with developers, which were fine, but they were long-winded, and they really didn't bring too much cool news to the table. A couple of things here and there, mostly characters and stuff like that. But having it now here in what can basically be considered a fighting game festival in EVO, because it's essentially what it is. It's a competition, sure, but it's also a fighting game festival. Let's be real. It's a celebration of fighting games that happens to have tournaments happening in it as well. So if they can bring some of that back, I'm all for it. But regardless, EVO 2022, back in front of a live crowd. Very, very excited about it. Looking forward to it. And I hope to talk to some people involved in the lead up to it. I'd love to see what's going on behind the scenes. Love to know how the attitude is, getting ready to get back into the live things. And looking forward to seeing everything kick off starting August the 5th. Now, next up, we're going to talk about PlayStation's state of play, from raining dinosaurs to cowabunga and everything in between. Stick around. All right, yes, we are back with Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 87. Just talked about EVO 2022, back and better than ever, 9 games on that slate. Looking forward to that very, very much. Now we're going to move on to a broadcast that has already happened. We're going to talk about the PlayStation State of Play from Wednesday, March the 9th. Was announced on Tuesday, happened on Wednesday, brought with it about a dozen announcements, each of different not quality, but of hype value, let's say. So let's get right into what happened at the State of Play, and then we'll talk about each of the things as they come up, and then an overall sense of where State of Play goes from here. So the first game out was, I thought, going to be what is that called? Pragmata from Capcom, one of their new IPs that they announced last year. It was still a Capcom game, it ended up being, and it had a bunch of dinosaurs in it. Dinosaurs that were causing a crisis in this world, but the game's not called Dino Crisis, it's called Exoprimal, which is fine, that's fine, but, you know, you're showing me dinosaurs, you're showing me a iconic red-haired woman in the cutscenes who looks an awful lot like Regina, so it's not Dino Crisis, but it is, or as one of my friends says, so we're not going to bring back Dino Crisis, but here is a crisis of dinosaurs. Let's see what you can do with that. But the game is a multiplayer action game with different exosuits doing different things. You have your ranged fighters, your melee fighters, your supporters, your medics, stuff like that. Looks cool. Looks cool for a first trailer. I need to see a little more. Maybe get a gameplay demo in before it comes out in 2023. We've got time, obviously. But I think it was a really cool little trailer to start us off. And neat little new IP. I love when publishers like that have the ability to experiment with stuff, and Exoprimal definitely seems like one that hopefully will pay off in the end. Next was a Ghostwire Tokyo trailer, just showing off some new people and new story beats. That comes out March the 25th, so we're about 2 weeks away from that. Nothing wrong there. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin got a brief demo, a brief trailer, talking about a new demo, which is out now, and all progress carries over to the full game when it launches later this month. So that's kind of cool. If you want to try it out right now, you're not wasting time. That's one thing that's always bothered me when I would, growing up. You would play a demo for a game, and then you would play that game again when it really came out, but none of your progress saved. You'd be going over the same stages over and over again. So I'm glad that Stranger of Paradise is letting that progress carry over to the main game. Also, I still kind of feel that feeling every once in a while when I have a preview event, like Dying Light 2, for example. I went out to San Francisco, played the game for 4 hours back in November, but then when it came out, it was time for time to review it. I was getting through things that I had already seen, and I'm like, oh, I remember this now. I remember doing this. It's interesting. Interesting feeling. But yeah, so Stranger of Paradise there, that was, and not being able to carry over that progress kind of stuff. But you're able to do it here. Stranger of Paradise demo was next. Forspoken, another Square Enix title, was recently delayed to October 11th, but still cool to see the trailer here with some exploration, a focus on Frey, the main character. Not really sure what to make of that game. On the one hand, it looks very, very cool, and the trailers that came out when it was called Project Athia were very sweet, but I guess I just don't know enough about the story to really get hooked in, so I'll need to see more on that as it comes out. Next up was an interesting idea. I don't know how it is going in practice, but the concept is not a bad idea. So Gundam Evolution, based on Mobile Suit Gundam, the very famous anime franchise. This Evolution is a 6-on-6 multiplayer first-person shooter, basically going after, like, Overwatch and Halo, where it's, like, high-paced first-person shooter action. Each characters have different classes, different special moves and stuff like that. Not an arena that I thought Bandai Namco would take Gundam, but it's cool. I think it's a cool idea. I need it to look a little better. That trailer was not the most impressive thing in the world, but it's a cool idea. I like how Bandai Namco is, going outside of the box with their established franchises. First, it was Dragon Ball The Breakers, which is essentially Dead by Daylight, and now this. So pretty cool idea. I look forward to seeing more of it in the near future. Next up was the announcement that had me the most excited, dead center of this presentation. It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. 11 different Ninja Turtle games from yesteryear coming to PlayStation and other consoles. 13 games, some of which I played as a wee boy, are in this bundle, including all of the arcade games, every Western release of 8-bit and 16-bit games. So every NES Ninja Turtles game, the really, really difficult one just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project, all here. Turtles in Time from Super Nintendo is here. Tournament Fighters, the fighting game, is here. Hyperstone Heist from the Genesis is here. They're all here. So cool. Such a cool collection. So excited to play all these games again. I love them to death. Turtles in Time is an all-timer for me. And I have been blasting the Super Shredder song ever since this was announced. Very, very cool. Easily, like I said, my favorite announcement from the presentation. Next up, Gigabash shows another trailer for a multiplayer, the kaiju fighting multiplayer that it's got going on this year. Still coming out for 2022, which I like. We'll see what happens there. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, an expansion to the or a sequel even to the first All-Star Battle that came out, I want to say in 2018, 2019, not quite sure when that launched. 50 total characters on its roster is the big selling point there, which is pretty impressive, including some of the new ones from the current series going on, like Jolene, the new female JoJo, is in that game there. Pretty cool. Trailer for Trek to Yomi, a side-scrolling samurai game set all in black and white from Flying Wild Hog and Devolver Digital. Very much looking forward to that one. I feel like everything Devolver Digital touches is good. They really have an eye for indie gaming over there. Looking forward to that one sometime this year, hopefully soon. That comes out. Returnal, one of the biggest games from last year, is getting a update called the Ascension Update that adds co-op, campaign co-op, and a mode called Tower of Sisyphus, which is, I don't know if it's an endless tower where you just keep going up and up and up until you can't go any further. And depending on how far you get, you might unlock some new story. Or if eventually you can reach the end and the big bad in the tower. But either way, it's more Returnal. Those fans will love that idea. And maybe I'll get into that game at some point soon. Just not seeing it, though. Too many difficult games right now. Can't add another one. And then finally, we had another 1-2 punch from Square Enix. Remember, they had Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, and Forspoken earlier in the show. They came back with the Diofield Chronicle, which was basically a Final Fantasy Tactics game. Whether or not it's a spiritual successor or ends up being a sequel or it's not related at all, it's going to stay independent, whatever. It was basically Final Fantasy Tactics. So that's really cool. And it had, beautiful updated graphics. Wouldn't quite call it HD 2D. I feel like it was not quite in that engine, but it was still very, very cool. Looking forward to seeing more of what's going on there. And if it does end up being Final Fantasy Tactics, awesome. That makes it even better. So we'll see what's going on there. And then finally, a franchise I did not expect to hear about ever again, honestly. And that is Valkyrie Profile, coming back for PlayStation 5 and PS4. The game is called Valkyrie Elysium, but it's the same basic franchise. And that's really cool. That's one of those like B-tier niche RPGs that only certain people know about, but everybody who knows about them absolutely loves them. Known for their difficulty, particularly, was it Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, I want to say. Maybe 1 or 2 on the original PlayStation. Tough games. Tough games. Will fit in quite nicely in the current Elden Ring meta of tough games. But a very cool way to end the show. So my main takeaway from this state of play is not so much that, the games they announced were cool, because they were, but more about them kind of figuring it out. Like, beginning to realize what a good state of play is all about. The deep dives on one particular game, like the Gran Turismo one and the Horizon Forbidden West one, those are fine. Those are a good way to highlight one of your upcoming games, and you should keep doing them, Sony. Those are great. But I'm talking about these with multiple games from multiple publishers and developers. The rapid fire announcements that they come up with, they put I think it's 12 announcements in 20 minutes. That's a little over a minute per announcement. I'm sorry, a little under a minute per announcement, I think. But it's really impressive. I felt like when you're looking at this lineup, there is something from this presentation for every gamer. There's something for everyone. And that's the kind of thing PlayStation needs to do. It needs to prove that it can carry a audience of more maybe casual players or people who don't check in every so often, as well as its hardcore players. And there are some games in here that I think will do that. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection will do that. Giga Bash looks like it could be a fun, frenetic little a time with some friends. Trek to Yomi for the samurai fans. Dio Field Chronicle for the strategic types. There are games for everyone in this lineup. Not as many first party as I would have liked, but still, you have to be impressed with the variety that they are offering. Now, did all of the trailers land? No. Like I said, Gundam Evolution looked a little rough, and Giga Bash didn't really do anything for me. But the fact that it's here, the fact that it was done, and the fact that it was keeping you on your toes with every little announcement is really cool. I feel like it's really, really cool advancement for State of Play. I think it's an improvement for what they used to do, and I feel like that there is more room to grow as they keep coming out with these things. They're starting to get their footing underneath them. Almost took 2 years, maybe a little more than that, but they're starting to really understand what makes a good presentation and giving you varied lineups of different games from multiple publishers and developers, all within the span of 20 minutes, I think the whole presentation was. That's pretty impressive. I have to tip my hat to it. And some people are like, this could have been an email. None of these games are for me and all that stuff. And that's fine. If not all the games are for you, that, you're not going to please every single viewer that watches. But this is varied enough that they cast quite a wide net, and we'll see what happens when the games actually come out. But for now, I liked it. I thought PlayStation made a nice little improvement with their State of Play, general State of Play like this. I hope they continue to build on it. And I also hope that their big showcase, whenever that may be at some point this year, is called State of Play. Having the State of Play and having the PS5 showcase kind of undermines the State of Play a little bit. So if they can call the big showcase State of Play E3 Showcase or State of Play PS5 Showcase 2022, just put both names in there, I think it's better in the long run for the State of Play as a whole. But until then, not sure if that's ever going to happen, actually. But when push comes to shove, I thought this was a great presentation. I thought it was a really cool way to get these games announced and in front of us. Got some really cool-looking games coming out on the horizon. A couple of them very soon, Ghostwire and Stranger of Paradise. A couple of them now a little further away and Forspoken. And who knows when things like Exo Primal or Dio Field Chronicle or anything like that are actually coming out. But kudos to you, Sony. I do have to give you props where they are due. I felt like this was a very, very good presentation from you, and there was a lot to like across your varied portfolio of games shown off. So well done. If you haven't watched it, go to the PlayStation YouTube, check out all the trailers for yourself, and let me know what you think. So it was a cool State of Play. Appreciate Sony for putting it out there and all the companies for participating, and I am looking forward to the next one, whatever that may be, whenever that may be. Sometime in the near future. But we are still rolling along here with episode 87 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers. On the other side, we're going to talk about a topic that, another needs and wants sort of topic. I love doing those, things that I want from the industry. But we're going to theme it around one of the games that was announced at State of Play. I'm sure you can figure it out, but I'm going to let you guess after this. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 87. We are here with the final segment of the evening. Talked about EVO, talked about State of Play. Now we're talking about retro games. So, as I said in the previous segment, my favorite game from the State of Play was, without a doubt, the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. 13 classic Turtle games in one place is super, super cool. And it got me thinking, what other franchises would be worthy of a collection like that? Whether it be old retro games bundled together or just taken from their original ports and put somewhere else, that sort of thing. So I came up with 5 that I researched for a little bit. Came up with 5 examples of things that I think would be worthy of that sort of retro collection treatment. I know I forgot some, so if I did, please tell me what you would want from a situation like this, because I know that there are a ton of viable options when we're talking about things like this. The first one is a franchise I just want back. I just want it back. It kind of showed up. It showed up on the Wii U and then it went away again. But the classic games are so good, and they're worthy of a reemergence of some kind. That's Star Fox. I feel like a Star Fox retro collection with 1 for Super Nintendo, 2 for Super Nintendo, 64, Star Fox Adventures, and Star Fox Assault from the GameCube would be awesome. Just have all 5 of those games in one bundle. I know some of them are on the Super Nintendo Online and the Nintendo 64 Online, and they want people to play them there. But I think this is more of a vehicle to get Adventures and Assault back into the mainstream, and then you just bundle 1, 2, and 64 with them for those who don't have Nintendo Online. They can play those off the disc or off the cartridge of this collection. I just feel like that would be a really cool little bundle because Star Fox 64 is an all-timer. Adventures is underrated, and Assault is great too. So I would play the heck out of a Star Fox bundle, but it would in the long run just make me pine for another new Star Fox game. But until that happens, all I can do is hope the older ones will come back in some shape or form, and I would love to play Star Fox Adventures again on my Switch. So 1, 2, 64 Adventures and Assault Star Fox bundle, please. Next one is one that I think is a little surprising it hasn't already happened. So in the last couple of years, Disney has gone pretty crazy with bundling its older games. So there was Disney Afternoon Collection, which had DuckTales, DuckTales 2, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Chip and Dale, I believe. Then there was the retro collection that came out recently. It was Aladdin and The Lion King, those platformers from Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. And now they're going to add the Jungle Book, if they haven't already, to that bundle as well. They announced they were going to do that, I think, the day after I finally bought it. So here I have an idea for a similar style bundle, but of Mickey Mouse. The man himself, the mouse himself, the head of Disney, getting his own video game bundle. And you could put in Mickey Mousecapades from the original Nintendo. You could put in the entire Illusion series from Genesis, Castle of Illusion, and the 3 follow-ups. And then you could do the Super Nintendo Magical Quest trilogy. The original Magical Quest was a favorite of mine, one of my favorite rentals from Blockbuster Video. Never owned it myself, unfortunately, but I did rent it a lot. So to have that come back would make a lot of sense too. And like I said, they're already bundling Disney games over there at Disney Interactive. A Mickey Mouse bundle would make sense to me as well, especially since he's your poster boy and you want him to be front and center as much as you can. And maybe now I just have the Mickey Mousecapades first stages music in my head, and that is influencing my decision. I don't know. Could be anything like that. But that is a bundle I think would be a nice little fit for younger kids and for older folks who played those games when they were younger kids to share with their daughters. Wink. But just would be cool. And I think Castle of Illusion would be the anchor there, obviously. But the rest of the games around it would make it a sweet package. Next up, this is one that I picture on the Switch specifically, because it has the ability to take the Joy-Con off and use the Joy-Con as its own thing, right? That's the only way this works. You could do it with one of the PlayStation VR Move controllers. I guess it wouldn't be in VR. You would just use the controller with the camera. You could do it like that if you wanted to, but I feel like this would be better suited for the Joy-Con, pointing at the screen and shooting, and then you would need another button to drop in and out of cover, and that's Time Crisis. Put all 4 Time Crisis games in one bundle on the Switch. Do it. Do it, you cowards. Do it. You don't need the Gun Con anymore. You don't need that big clunky thing. You don't need the PlayStation, anything like that. Just the PlayStation 1, because that's what the original Time Crisis is on. Give me the Time Crisis games ported to Switch, Joy-Con support, press one of the triggers to cover, press the other one to shoot, aim at the entire screen. I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be a really, really cool addition to the Switch library. You've already remade a bunch of stuff. A lot of House of the Dead remake is coming soon, which is a very similar style game. Time Crisis would fit in perfect. I feel like that would be a really, really interesting idea over on the Switch, and something to bolster its retro library. Not that it really needs any help, but it would certainly help. So give me some Time Crisis on Switch. Time Crisis Collection. Let's do it. Fourth one is one where this is a bit of a personal preference. This is not one where I think it would have a lot of universal appeal, but to be quite honest, if the other company is doing it, and I suggested the other company is doing it earlier, then why can't Nickelodeon get involved with some of their platformers from the Super Nintendo and Genesis era? There were a lot when I looked at this from all of their different shows. Rugrats had a ton of games, for example. But if it's me and I'm picking the ones that I want, it would be two different Ren and Stimpy games. One on the Super Nintendo called Vidiots, and the other one was Stimpy's Invention on the Genesis. Both of them are solid platformers. Difficult at times, but I really did enjoy playing them as a kid. I played Vidiots like crazy, like it was going out of style. Would love to see that come back in a collection. Also, Rocko's Modern Life, Spunky's Dangerous Day. That was a neat little Super Nintendo platformer as well. And then Ah Real Monsters had a Sega Genesis game that I would like to see in this bundle. But again, there are more. I know I missed some from that classic Nickelodeon game library. So please feel free to tell me which ones I did miss, because that bundle there sounds really, really good already. And I know that it could be enhanced even further with ideas that I have forgotten. And then finally, this is one that you would think off the top of your head would be a logistical nightmare. But if I actually don't know where the rights to these games fall. If they fall to the company that I mention, it could be easier than it seems. But I don't know if the individual companies own the rights to these games or how that works, like distribution rights and stuff like that. But this is a WWE bundle, classic WWE games from yesteryear. The roster of wrestlers in that game you wouldn't have to get copyrights from because you made them. So let's go with something like the Royal Rumble on Super Nintendo, or WrestleFest, the arcade game, or WrestleMania, the arcade game, that where Midway went a little crazy with it and added like flying bats out of the Undertaker's hands and stuff like that. That's a fun game. In Your House, the PlayStation sequel, would be awesome. And then you anchor this with both WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy, two of the greatest wrestling games of all time. No Mercy is widely considered to be the best one. You slap that in this bundle at the end, and you have pandemonium on your hands with how much people would enjoy that, how much people would pick it up, and how much people would play, especially No Mercy. I would probably spend some time in the arcade game. I feel like it's very underrated, that game. But, yeah, WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy are the hooks there. Now, obviously, this was a little bit of what we're going to call fantasy booking. I don't think any of these collections are ever going to be made. And if they are, if they are, that's great. I'll play them. But this was just like a wish list sort of thing. I didn't want... and again, I don't think I got them all. I think that there are some collections that don't exist yet out there that should, because the games that would be in them would be absolutely amazing. And if there are, please tell me what they are. I would be happy to add to this list with potential ideas and send them all, somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to send them. But I love these ideas. I love the retro collections. Keep things like the Cowabunga collection coming. I love them very, very much. And hopefully we'll see more of our favorite retro adventures bundled together in the near future. And with that, we are at the end of episode number 87 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeart Radio. Available on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to this show in its entirety. If you're listening to these words, as I say every week, thank you very much for your time and your patience and your consideration. I hope I informed you. I hope I made you laugh. I hope I made you interested in something in the gaming world. And if you have any topics you want me to cover, please reach out to me at Big Man Finelli on Twitter, and I will be happy to consider them. Also, do not forget, send me your 5 favorite video game soundtracks of all time at Big Man Finelli on Twitter. I will rank them up. I will get a bracket out, and we will vote via Twitter polls on each round until we come to the general consensus on the best video game soundtrack of all time. A tall tale, but one that I think that we could absolutely handle. With that, my name is Jason Finelli. We're signing off for the week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Stay dry and not snowy in the Philadelphia area. Hope you have an excellent week right behind it, and we will be back again next week for episode number 88 of this Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Talk to you later. Goodbye.